When wearable heart rate monitors were introduced, they were a game changer in training data and accuracy. And then came along the power meter, the superior metric, more accurate, quicker to respond, and less affected by external factors.
It sounds like a no-brainer, but it's not always as simple as it sounds. I mean, otherwise this video would be a bit pointless. Before we get into the debate, I think we should explain exactly how each metric works and what it's telling us. But before we do that, don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss any of GTN's videos, and give this video a thumbs up when you've enjoyed it. Right, let's get going.
Heart rate is a measure of how hard your body is working, whereas power is a measure of the output of that effort. And those two do go together. However, they don't always necessarily correlate exactly the same. For example, one day when you're riding at 200 watts, your heart rate could be, say, 150. And then the next day, that same 200 watts could see your heart rate as high as or even above 160 beats per minute.
Which could leave you questioning which one is correct. Well, they're both correct. However, many factors affect your heart rate, whereas power is always purely your output. It's your force through the pedals multiplied by your cadence.
Power is measured through a power meter on the bike, either in the pedals, the cranks, the spider, or built into the hub. If you're riding indoors on a smart trainer, then that will also give you a power reading. The numbers are instantaneous, so as soon as you put down more power, it will show on your watch or computer. And there are various ways in which you can display this, either average for 3 seconds, the actual power, normalized power, or you can go into deeper metrics such as power to weight, etc. Before we get too carried away though, let's take a look at heart rate.
You've got chest strap heart rate monitors or optical heart rate monitors. If you're looking for accuracy, go for a chest strap heart rate monitor because this measures the actual electrical impulses of the heart, whereas optical heart rate monitors measure the changes in blood pressure in your veins on, say, your wrist, and they're sometimes a bit less accurate.
Yeah, now as we mentioned, heart rate can vary for the same power, and that's due to several factors. If it's hotter, then that can make your heart rate go higher. Dehydration has the same effect, as does caffeine and stress, whereas fatigue could actually see your heart rate potentially a bit lower, and the same with cold. Finally, your heart rate is much slower to react to any change in intensity. This is known as the heart rate lag, and that can be anything from 30 to 60 seconds to reflect that change in effort from when you started, whereas power is instantaneous.
With so many factors affecting heart rate, then, it seems like power is the clear choice. However, what if that change in heart rate is actually telling you something you need to know?
Both metrics are a great way to measure and prescribe your training, and this is usually done in zones. For heart rate, tends to be zones 1 to 5, and for power, zones 1 to 5 or zones 1 to 7. Now, in order to find out your zones, you're going to need to do a test for both heart rate and for power, and we've covered various videos on how to do that, and we'll share some links in the description below.
Once you have your zones, of course, you can input them into your power meter or your bike computer to tell you what zone you're in at any given time. And this is where heart rate and power work so well together, because you'll pretty quickly learn what your heart rate is for any given power zone. And then you can know that if you're having a good day, your heart rate is exactly where it should be for that power zone. However, if it's a bit high for the given power that you're putting out, you maybe are dehydrated or a bit too hot and you should back it off a little bit. And if it's a bit low and you just can't get your heart rate as high as you normally would for that power zone, maybe you're a bit fatigued and you should take a rest day.
And from a coaching perspective, using power to prescribe sessions and to measure them makes them really clear and easy to follow. And then heart rate is a bit of a complementary metric which can help them to analyse just how that session went.
When it comes to racing, the jury is a little bit more split. Power is a clear number that you can follow on race day, and you know you can do it because you did it in training. However, racing is a different kettle of fish. Essentially, you've got adrenaline, you've got the bike happening after the swim, you've got race dynamics, you've got terrain, you've got weather, and of course, you're tapered, so you're fresher than you've ever been in your training. And so those power numbers might not accurately reflect what you can actually do on race day.
Yeah, now you might have also noticed that sometimes the pros don't necessarily use power, or don't necessarily have any metrics displayed on their bike computer. They just record it to look at the analysis after their race. And this is in part due to the fact that the pro race has a very different dynamic and they've got to react to whatever's happening up the road. But also because some of the pros tend to be so in tune with their bodies that they know what that effort feels like.
As an age group athlete, hopefully you will also be in tune with your body and you have a pretty good understanding of what your heart rate does at any specific effort level. However, you do need to pay attention to your heart rate on race day. You can't just stick to a power number. If your heart rate is going too high and it's going into the red, you're probably going to pay the price for that later on in the race. So knowing what your heart rate's doing on race day can be invaluable so that you can pace yourself correctly.
Well, do let us know which metrics you choose to use, whether it's for training or for racing, and if you use both, how you combine the two. We are definitely interested to hear your comments on that. Well, hopefully you've enjoyed it. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching. Hey, look at that, we jinked.